Now we will be talking about certain special cases that we encounter during a poll day. Before that, let us just rewind on the normal procedures in an election polling station. Now, normally when a new voter comes in, he first meets the first polling officer with a identity card, and looking at the identity card, once the serial number is known, the first polling officer loudly reads out the serial number of the voter. Once the serial number is read aloud, the candidate's agents can see the voter and they recognize him to be a genuine voter of the polling station. Subsequently, the polling officer reads out the name, and in the marked copy of the particular polling station's voters list, the first polling officer puts a diagonal line in the box of the voter in the electoral roll. A red line is drawn starting from the photograph diagonally to the other corner. If the voter is a female voter, subsequently the first polling officer also puts a round around the voter's electoral number. Subsequently, the first polling officer, in the data sheet which is given to him, where he has to mark the statistics. If it is a male voter, he has to tick the male column. If it is a female voter, he has to tick the female column. So this is the role of the first polling officer. Subsequently, the voter moves to the second polling officer. The second polling officer, again, he verifies the electoral roll number, and then in the 17A register that is present with him, he mentions the electoral roll number. Subsequently, he gets the signature of the voter, and then he applies the indelible ink on the forefinger as per instruction. That is, starting from the skin, it must be a straight line drawn to the tip of the finger. So this is the next thing. And subsequently, by the time the finger's indelible ink is dried up, the second polling officer, will write in the voter slip the serial number of the 17A register, the voter's electoral roll number, and then put an initial and hand it over to the voter. This role of the second polling officer is over. With this voter slip, the voter next moves to the third polling officer. The third polling officer, after verifying the indelible ink, collects the voter slip, keeps it safely, and subsequently he or she presses the ballot in the control unit. Once the ballot is pressed, the voter is told to move to the secret compartment, the voting compartment. There, according to his choice, he presses the blue button. Immediately, the slip is generated in the VVPAT. He can view it for 7 seconds. It will be available in the window. Once it's 7 seconds over, it falls into the drop box. Immediately, a beep sound comes in the control unit, indicating that the vote has been registered, and that is a normal way in which a normal voter completes the voting and moves out of the polling station. This is the normal way in which a vote takes place. But there are situations where a new unexpected thing can happen in a polling station. We will be talking of such things. There are three main important things that could happen. One is the tendered vote, the other is the challenge vote, and the third is the test vote. These are the three scenes that we are going to talk about. Another situation that could arise in a polling station is a case where an identity of a voter is being challenged. A particular voter enters the polling station. The first polling officer reads out his part number or serial number, and immediately one of the candidate's agents announces that he is not the genuine voter. So that's a situation where we refer to as the challenged voter. So the identity of the voter is being challenged by the candidate's agent. Now, once a challenge is being put forth by a particular candidate's agent, it's not necessary that immediately we accept it. The first polling officer must make a summary inquiry, look at the ID card, ask some basic details, and if the polling officer one is sure that it is a actual voter, he must be permitted or she must be permitted to vote. Even then, if the candidate's agent persists with a challenge, persists with this situation that ground that this is not the actual voter. In such situations, we have a situation where it is referred to as the challenge vote. Now, this case must be then referred to the presiding officer. The presiding officer calls the person who is challenging, that is the candidate's agent who is challenging the identity of the voter. Now, the onus lies on the challenger, that is the candidate's agent, to establish that this is not the actual voter. Because after the presiding officer inquires, and he also has a genuine reason to feel that he is a true voter, but the challenger withstands to his stands to his position that this is not the actual voter. Then the person who is challenging it must be told to fee. The challenge fee must be taken and a receipt for this must be given to the challenger. So, at 2 rupees is taken from the challenger, he has to pay the fee. Once he pays the challenge fee, then only the challenge is accepted. Now, once a challenge has been raised by the particular candidate's agent, then what is the next situation? The summary inquiry is made and the onus lies on the candidate's agent who has raised the challenge to prove that this is not the actual. For such situations, the presiding officer can take the help of the BLO who is sitting outside the polling station to just confirm the identity of the voter. If the BLO also feels that it is a voter, then the matter can be closed by the presiding officer. And if the challenger says no, then he has to bring proof to show that the person is not the actual voter. If the challenger is unable to establish his claim, then the voter is treated as a genuine voter and permitted to vote as like a normal voter. But if the challenger is capable of establishing that this is not an actual voter, in such situations, it is a bogus voter, therefore he is infringing the basic law and he is now an impersonator. In such cases, the presiding officer has a provision to give a complaint to the SHO police, and this is the format that is given, and this format has to be filled by the presiding officer, and along with this he must hand over the impersonator to the police for further legal action. So this situation is referred to as a challenge voter. So a challenge can be raised, the challenge fee has to be taken, then only the challenge should be entertained. Once the challenge is entertained, there are two options. Either the identity has been established of the voter, that he is a true, genuine voter, permitted to vote. If the challenger is capable of giving proof that he is not the actual voter and he is an impersonator, then subsequently the law will take its course of action and the complaint must be registered, lodged by the presiding officer in this form. So this situation is called as a challenge vote. And all challenge votes must be mentioned in this form 14. The form 14, the name of the elector, serial number, part number, signature should be taken, address of the person who was challenged, that may be the candidate's agent, or name of the identifier if somebody has been taken help for identification, and the order of the presiding officer. What is the order? Order could be either he is a genuine voter permitted to vote, or if he is an impersonator handed over to the police. So this is the claim. And if the claim is been proved, the 2 rupees that has been paid as challenge fee has to return. If it has not been proved, it has to be forfeited. But it should be mentioned in this form. Generally, if there is no such challenge in the entire polling station, immediately you should draw a straight line, write nil, and this nil report must necessarily put, because either there should be a yes order or a nil. Nil statement must be surely put in the format.